So I saw Star Wars The Force Awakens, and honestly, I thought it was so bad. I thought it was just terrible. Now I'll admit, alright? The film was a very entertaining film. I thought it was very fun to watch. The visual effects were pretty good. It wasn't really boring. Comparing it to an actual Star Wars film, it feels so limited. Like, the world of Star Wars is supposed to make things feel bigger, but yet The Force Awakens just goes back to where it originally was in the previous movies, and now it kind of feels small again, because we've already seen this stuff. There's nothing new to explore. There's nothing new. Remember, guys, Star Wars came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. There was nothing like it. It always brought something new to the table. The originals pretty much changed cinema history and inspired so many sci-fi movies, and the prequels, whether you people like him or dislike him, I personally don't mind him, but they definitely expanded on the universe and they gave us new things to look at and to see. It's just the potential that this film could have had is lost. Because basically what Disney has done is they basically rebooted everything back to how it originally was in the original trilogy, therefore history repeating itself, and therefore making the end of Return of the Jedi all for nothing, because everything was going to basically happen again. Now, before I even discuss on some of the things that I did not like about it, I'm going to tell you some of the things that I did like about it. The only characters I really liked were BB-8, even though he played the exact same role as R2 did in A New Hope, but I still liked BB-8. He was adorable. And Poe Dameron. And I also liked the cinematography. I loved the visuals, and the CGI was really, really good. And the, stage designs, it looked so fresh, and I respect the film for that. But other than that, I hated everything else. I'm sorry, guys. This is a rant video, so if you don't want to hear somebody complaining about The Force Awakens, then just get out. Alright? This is just my opinion, and I just have to speak this out to everybody. I have to, because I don't want to hold this in. I need to speak out. These are the reasons why I absolutely hate The Force Awakens. Alright, now, let's just get this straight. Let's just start with the big one. Pretty much, everybody's main complaint about The Force Awakens. It's a rehash of A New Hope. That's right, The Force Awakens is nothing but a rehash / copy of A New Hope. Like, I cannot believe that. I just can't believe they would do that. I mean, you have so many stories, from books to video games to fan films. You have so many stories to work with, and you decide to just remake A New Hope, to remake the original Star Wars. That's the best you can come up with. Why? Just because you don't want to make it feel like Phantom Menace? Is that it? Come on, you could have taken such a different approach. You see, the thing about Star Wars is that every single episode has told us a new story. They don't copy the same ideas. They don't copy the same plot. They all have their own very unique plot. And for that, they feel like a completely different film. And it's just new adventures, and that's what Expanding the Galaxy is. That's what you do in a Star Wars movie. But The Force Awakens, it's just a copy. It really is. And you can go on many other videos and they'll explain perfectly how similar these films are. I want a new Star Wars film. I don't want the same fucking movie that everybody saw in the 90s. And I have tried to look at this from a different angle, but every time I do, I keep seeing A New Hope everywhere and just all this fucking fan service being thrown at you. That's all I ever see in this film. I don't see a sequel. I see a fucking reboot. That's all I see in this film. This is one of the big reasons why The Force Awakens just fucking blow. No fucking creativity or imagination. And that kind of leads up to my next point. This is probably one of the most laziest and most unimaginative Star Wars films to date. Again, there is just nothing new. Every single idea is directly taken from A New Hope and the expanded universe. There is nothing new. Fuck you guys, at least the prequels did something new. In this film, it's basically Rebels vs. Empire. Wow, haven't I seen that before? There's a fucking Jedi temple. Student betrays Jedi Council, kills all the fucking Jedi, and then sends the Jedi hiding. Wow, haven't I seen that before? And besides, I never really liked the idea of history repeating itself. I think it just really limits on what you can actually do. And because of this, it really falls flat. Like, the fucking idea for this film is just stupid. I'm going to give you a few examples. Death Star 3.0. What the fuck? Seriously, another Death Star? And it's destroyed the exact same way, with the exact same purpose, and the Death Star 3.0 basically is there for the exact same purpose as the previous was. To destroy more planets. It's just bigger, and that's it. Seriously, that means this just makes the Empire just even more stupid. Just probably one of the worst galactic armies out there. You figure, like, right after Return of the Jedi, the Empire would be like, okay, so 2 Death Stars. Yeah, that didn't really work out. Maybe we should make another one. Wait. You know what? I don't even think that's a good idea. Why do we even have to make another one? No, we're not going to have the same shit happen to us again. The next film makes another fucking Death Star? I am fucking done with this. Jakku is a stupid ass planet because it's literally Tatooine with a different name. There is no difference between Tatooine and Jakku. They're both the same damn planet. Basically, Jakku, the whole fucking planet is Dune Sea. That's basically it. There's no difference at all. I'm sorry, just because one has 2 moons and one has only 1 doesn't make it different. It is bullshit. It's literally Tatooine. We need some new planets, you know? Something more interesting like Camino, Mustafar, you know, just interesting planets like that. Planets that we haven't seen yet. Things we haven't seen yet. Disney, I understand you want to pay, you know, respect to the fans, but fuck. That doesn't mean you have to exactly copy other ideas and then just put them in there for the sake of just, you know, trying to please the fan base. I know people weren't the biggest fan of the prequels, but that doesn't mean you have to just completely ignore their existence and just act like they weren't anything. You're trying to pay respect to the fucking fan base, but really, when you kind of look at it, you're not paying respect to fucking George Lucas himself. Look, I understand, but you shouldn't be the original trilogy. You shouldn't even be the prequel trilogy. You need to be your own thing. You know what I'm saying? You need to progress the story. Let it be new, but let it be inspired by not only the original trilogy, but by also the prequel trilogy. Regardless of what people say about the prequels, you need to still respect them as Star Wars stories. These stories were told by George Lucas, the same guy who came up with episodes 4, 5, and 6. You need to pay them respect. This just proves that you're fucking scared, Disney. That you're afraid of having creativity in your fucking movies. That you're trying to play it so safe because you don't want the people bashing on you, just like what they did to George for the prequels. Even in my opinion, the prequels are not that bad, people. Yes, they're not that good movies, but they're not the worst things I have seen in my entire fucking life. And because of this fucking movie, I feel like the whole thing needs to be completely redone. If fucking George Lucas was involved with these new set of films, they would have been something new. They would have had a much smoother transition. To me, the main movies should be about the Skywalker family tree, but I feel like in this film, they really fucked that up, and I'll explain later, but to me, that's what it feels like. Look, JJ, things need to evolve. Things need to progress. Things need to move forward. Stop moving backwards. Not everything can just be, oh, it's the original trilogy. It can't be the original trilogy forever. It needs to move on with itself. Because if you're not doing that, then this franchise is never going to move forward. Ever. And if you're going to give us the same shit through the next film or spin-off film, then I'm fucking done with you, Disney. I'm fucking done. So lazy. Another issue is, this movie doesn't explain anything. Now yes, I know, depending on episodes 8 and 9, they will probably explain some things, but there are some other things that are just left hanging that's unnecessary, that you should be able to explain that in that film, you know? Like, for example, how did C-3PO get the red arm? What was the Falcon doing there in the first place? How did fucking Maz find Luke's lightsaber? And how did she know that's specifically Luke's lightsaber and his father's? How did Poe survive? What was with R2-D2 just waking up at the very last point of the film just out of coincidence? Why the fuck did Luke make a map for literally anyone to find him? Like, if I was a Jedi going to hide from the bad guys, I wouldn't put up a fucking map so they can have a chance to find me. That's just fucking stupid. Especially when the fucking map shows the exact coordinates of where you're at, to me. I understand that the next movies might answer some of these things, but for some things like the red arm for C-3PO and the Falcon, like, you know, things just shouldn't be there, leaving the audience like, okay, how did this happen? How is this possible, you know? You just don't know what's going on right now. The first Star Wars film of a brand new trilogy shouldn't leave so many just questions just unanswered. It should feel more like a complete movie. Instead, it just tries to leave things hanging just so it has an excuse for a sequel. And basically what Disney is telling you is they're basically saying, oh, you want to know what happens right there? You want to know how that got there? Read a fucking book. The fact that it's even telling us to just go on and just read a book in order to know what the fuck is happening, it's just fucking lazy. You can't even tell me in your own fucking movie. So that ends it. Kylo Ren. One of the weakest villains I've ever seen. Look, if you're going to present him and market him as, like, you know, this very, very strong bad guy, then that's how it should be through the entire film. The only time I actually really liked Kylo Ren was in the very beginning, where they're attacking Jakku, and he stops a blaster like in mid-air. I'm like, whoa, damn! Are you serious? This is the bad guy? This is impressive. And then later on, he starts, you know, throwing those stupid tantrums and starts kind of crying and just starts really just showing that he's just trying to be another Darth Vader, and that he takes off his mask and he reveals his whole identity, that he's, you know, he's Ben Solo, he's Han's son. I cannot take this kid seriously as Han Solo's son, because to me, when I look at him, when I look at that face, he looks more like the son of Professor Snape from fucking Harry Potter. Seriously, they look almost exactly alike. Exactly fucking alike. So I can't take him seriously.
And Han Solo, I feel like he's the father you never had. He would have disappointed you.
Gryffindors such as yourselves be doing inside on a day like this?
I want to be free of this pain.
As it so happens, I'm aware of your situation, Nurse.
Supreme Leader, I can get the map from the girl. I just need your guidance.
So when the time comes, the boy must die?
He was weak and foolish, like his father.
Seriously, J.K. Rowling, this guy would be perfect for a young Professor Snape. Perfect, I tell you, perfect. They should have casted someone with a bit shorter hair and looks much more similar to Harrison Ford, because after all, he is the son of Han Solo, so not Professor Snape. What I would have personally done is basically first, for episode 7, Don't present him as, you know, a Sith Lord. Don't present him as this brand new bad guy that's going to be so badass. First, make him like a Jedi, and then he'll transition into the dark side. So that way we can understand his character better, and we can know why he turns into, you know, a Sith or a Dark Jedi or whatever. You know, his reasons for, you know, abandoning his parents and just wanting to learn the dark side. We can understand his motives. Also, the crossguard saber is pointless. People say that the little hilts on the lightsaber, they say they help you defend yourself so your hand doesn't get cut off. Okay, I can see that. That's possible, but the thing is, this fucking movie never ever shows that. Throughout the entire film, he uses the lightsaber as a regular lightsaber. There is no use for those hilts whatsoever. The only time he uses it is when he's fighting Finn, and he's kind of grinding against, you know, Finn's lightsaber, and then he just slightly turns it, burning him with the hilts. But that's pretty much the only time that he uses it. One of my biggest complaints about Kylo Ren is his name. Not Kylo Ren, but Ben Solo. Ben Solo. Why on earth is his name Ben? It makes no sense for him to call his son Ben. Why would he do that? I know that the legends are not canon anymore, so don't even bring that up with me, please. But Luke's son was called Ben. Now, when you kind of think about it, it would make more sense for Luke to call his son Ben. Because during the original trilogy, Ben was the one who, you know, was the father figure to Luke Skywalker. He was there for him all the time, you know? He pretty much was there on Tatooine. He watched him as a little kid. He was always there to watch over him. When he died, you know, he guided him on the Death Star. On Hoth, where Luke was stranded, you know, in the middle of a snowy desert, Obi-Wan, you know, told him to go to Dagobah so he can find Yoda, so he can start learning the ways of the Jedi. And then in Return of the Jedi, you know, Obi-Wan/Ben, he finally told Luke that, you know, Darth Vader was his father and that Leia was his sister. He told him the exact truth. So, when you kind of look at it, all of these, you know, films, all of the things that Luke has, you know, gone through, Obi-Wan/Ben was always there with him. So, like, wouldn't it make more fucking sense to name his son after Obi-Wan Kenobi, which he knew him by Ben? Wouldn't it make more sense? Even though Darth Vader was his father, Obi-Wan Kenobi was really the father figure in Luke's entire life. The moment Luke was born, Obi-Wan looked after him for his whole life. It's a more genuine approach and it makes more sense. And then on the other hand, you have Han, who disliked Obi-Wan and really didn't give any shits about him. Han's kid should have been Jason, Anakin, and Jaina Solo. To me, they are the true offsprings for Han and Leia, not this Ben Solo shit. So, Jason's character is pretty much fucked up. He should not be called Ben. Kylo Ren is really just a watered-down version of Darth Vader. He is even trying to be like Darth Vader. It's an exact copy. Wow. It has no logic behind it whatsoever, and people are even stupid enough to accept this as canon. Well, for me, I won't allow it. When I first heard about the concept of Snoke's character, like he was going to be kind of like some like reptilian like type of dude, like some type of villain, I was very interested to see, you know, who this guy really was. And then when I finally saw him on screen, what the fuck? Are you serious? This is Snoke? Seriously, what is it with Hollywood and pale villains right now? I mean, are you shitting me? Again, there is no creativity. Now, when I look at Snoke, he looks like the father of Smeagol, or like Smeagol coming back from like the dead. That's what he looks like. Just because the main villain is being played by Andy Serkis doesn't mean you have to make the big supposed bad guy that look like the exact same person Andy Serkis has already played in a previous film. Like, seriously, guys. And again, because of no creativity, he plays the exact same role as Emperor Palpatine did, as the Emperor did. It's the exact same role with the exact same purpose. And what kind of Sith Lord would, not complete their, apprentices' training first before even sending them out and doing their bidding, especially when they need a lot more work? Wouldn't a Sith Lord rather just, complete their apprentices' training first? It seems just very silly. It's like, that you haven't even completed your training yet. I mean, let's look at a good example. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. When Darth Sidious is talking to Darth Maul. Sidious is basically explaining that you have been trained well, my young apprentice. They will be no match for you. So, a true Sith Lord would make sure that his apprentice's training would be complete, instead of just sending them out and not even completing it yet. Like, seriously. They weren't weak compared to Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren needed a lot more work, and he had a lot more time. He had 30 fucking years to train. 30 years. And he was still incredibly weak. But of fucking course, he was trained by both Luke and Snoke, so at least he has that knowledge. So if he faced, somebody with no experience with a lightsaber, hint hint, he couldn't possibly lose. I mean, come on, he can't be that weak. And plus, the whole idea of Anakin, bringing balance to the Force and destroying the Sith completely would mean it would be fucking pointless now. And that's basically what they're saying. Because if you're saying that Snoke was able to, be around since the Clone Wars and the Galactic Empire, yet you still have one Sith Lord out there, and now, George Lucas, put the thing of, Anakin being the chosen one, and when he destroyed the Emperor, it completed the whole saga because he destroyed evil completely and balanced the Force. But now we have another Sith Lord that he forgot. So now he didn't destroy the Sith, when you kind of think of it like that. So the prophecy was all for nothing. Why did they have to go with a Dark Lord? You don't have to be a Sith to be an intimidating bad guy. Why couldn't you do Thrawn or someone like that? Damn it, Disney. Now, the concept of Rey's character isn't necessarily bad, but there are just some things about this, specific female character that just I do not understand. You may be, very talented in the Force, but then when you think about it, why are you so strong in the Force, Her reasons for just, being very strong in the Force is just going to just probably be, she's the daughter of Luke, if that is the case. We don't know yet, but you need a better explanation of why she knows how to use the Force. It can't just be, oh, she's the daughter of Luke. No, it needs to be a better explanation than that. It's just the stuff that she does that doesn't make any sense at all. This chick has lived on a fucking desert planet for basically her whole life, waiting for her family to return. So, how the heck does she know how to use the Force? Some people say that she trained when she was very little and that's how she was talented. Okay, let's take a look at this. I play guitar, right? Let's say at the age of 2. I first started to play the guitar. And then all of a sudden, I stopped playing guitar at the age of 5. Now, I'm 20 years old. And now, I'm picking up the guitar for the first time in over how many years? I'm not going to do the math. All those years of not practicing the guitar, do you think I would improve my skills? Do you think that I would be better and be a master at it? Do you expect me to just pick it up and start playing like Slash or Eddie Van Halen? No, it doesn't work like that, and this is the same thing that applies for Rey. If she did train as a Jedi when she was very, very young and then just stopped, and then basically her whole life, she was waiting, but she never used the Force. fuck? She thought the Jedi were a myth. She thought Luke Skywalker was a myth. And now she's rediscovering the Force, and basically she's somehow a master at it and can defeat, Jedi that are pretty much trained by Luke and Snoke. If she hasn't flown any ships, how does she know how to be a very, very good pilot if she hasn't left the planet for her whole childhood? And the fucking movie even told us that she didn't know what the fuck she was doing. Also, how the fuck does she know how to use a Jedi mind trick? Like, how the fuck does she know that? You know how long in training it takes to actually master a Jedi mind trick? Like, I understand, like, you have the Force and all. I mean, I'll accept that, but this is something that's just like, what the fuck? How did she figure that out, How did she even hear about, what a Jedi mind trick was? Nobody mentioned it to her. You can be strong on the Force, but it just can't happen like that. It takes years and years of training. Again, she lived on a fucking desert planet for basically her entire childhood. For basically her whole life. No one to guide her or to explain to her to what the Force was. She had absolutely no one to tell her how the Force works. Not even to demonstrate. No one was there to fucking teach her. This pretty much destroys the whole purpose of, training many, many years to be a Jedi. And really, at that level when you're at, like a Jedi Master, you can do stuff like that. But if you're learning for the Force for the first time, you can't do something like that. That's just impossible. It takes away everything we know about the Force and everything we knew about training to be a Jedi. Because now, anyone can pick up a fucking lightsaber and completely destroy a Sith Lord without even any training. What the fuck? And then my biggest complaint about her, which is almost probably the biggest questions I have about the movie, is how the heck did she beat Kylo Ren? To me, she only wins just because she's the main character. And I already mentioned, how weak Kylo Ren was compared to the other villains. But this fight makes him even weaker. This should be an easy win for Kylo Ren, because he's going up against people who have never been trained to use a lightsaber at all. Kylo Ren has been trained by both Luke and Snoke for like 30 years. 30 fucking years of training with the Force and just knowledge and knowing the skills. We're talking about someone that basically destroyed all of Luke's, students and made, Luke go out hiding. Wouldn't it make a little bit more sense if, somebody just as strong as Luke would be able to defeat Kylo Ren? Someone who's been actually training, for years, and someone who's just as powerful as Luke. So Kylo Ren destroys all of Luke's students, and he, remains supposedly he's a threatening presence across the galaxy, And all of a sudden, here comes this little chick who picks up a lightsaber for the first time, and she whoops his ass. Not buying that.
Oh, do you remember that part? Chewbacca shot Kylo Ren in the ribs, so of course that made him weaker.
That's some baby back bullshit. Because the fact that Kylo Ren was able to catch up with Finn Rey at the forest pretty much shows that he still has a lot of, stamina inside him. My best example of this fight is basically, Rey is basically a level 5 player. She goes up against Kylo Ren, who is level 50. And when you're on level 50, you have more power-ups, better defense, and more skills, and just, you're at a much higher level. So, when you kind of look at it, how does a level 5 player just automatically take down a level 50 player? You have to, cheat the game in order to do that. Yeah, there are just some things I really don't understand about Rey. It's not that I have a problem with her using the Force, it's just how J.J. Abrams told us how she had the Force. It makes no fucking sense, and I'm sorry. There is no way for you to even know what a Jedi mind trick is, or picking up a lightsaber and defeating someone that's well trained in the Jedi arts, even though he still needed a lot more training. So the way J.J. Abrams has presented, Rey learning the Force and all is completely unrealistic. It's like after all the 6 films that we've seen, they still don't understand exactly how the Force works. What a horrible job, guys. Let's just get to my final just thing I want to say about this film. It's how the fan base is responding to this film. When I first looked at the critics and reviews for this film, I thought this was going to be a very, very, pretty good Star Wars film. I'm like, okay, let's see it. And then when I go see the movie, I'm so confused. Because, yes, it's an entertaining film, but aside from that, for a Star Wars film, it makes no fucking sense. It is the most fan-serviced film I've ever seen. And there's nothing wrong with fan service. It's just, there's so much of it that it's just unbelievably, just stupid. You guys are saying that this film is one of the greatest films ever made, when really, there is no imagination behind it, no fucking creativity, nothing original. Everything is directly copied from the previous movies, from the original Star Wars, and some of the things from the old expanded universe. There is nothing new. How could you say this film is fucking good if it doesn't bring anything new to the table? Look, I did not want to hate this film at all. I came in expecting a great film, but turns out I hated it beyond anything I could have ever imagined. This just proves that people are just original trilogy biased fanboys. That is all they are. And so is J.J. Abrams. Because if you can't respect the whole Star Wars universe, then you're not a real Star Wars film. I'm sorry. You think if George Lucas was making these films, do you think he would fucking care? No. And as much as I do question some things that George Lucas has done, it's still his story, and whatever he says and what he ever says that Star Wars is, you should respect that. We can't stay in the original trilogy forever. We need to move forward. And if we don't, then everything's going to get repetitive and boring, and it's going to die out. Even the prequels have more creative ideas. And yes, some of the dialogue and the CGI effects, may not be so good, but there are certainly a lot of things that I really liked, and that people still, recognize to this day. The prequels are great ideas, but poorly directed. And that is why I don't hate them as much as other people. Yeah, they're not that good, but they definitely are not the worst pieces of movies I've ever seen. Make things new, but just improve on the mistakes that the prequels made. That is literally all you have to do. Not just a slap-in-the-face copy of the previous films and some of the expanded universe just for fucking sakes for nostalgia. It's not about the original trilogy, it's the whole universe. You people need to understand that. People need to understand that. If this film was a complete reboot, just completely rebooting the Star Wars franchise, as weird as that sounds, I actually would be okay with it. Because at least you're leaving the movies and the old expanded universe respectfully in their places. You're not changing up the story. You're not changing what we thought we already knew. Disney is the biggest money scheming company right now, and they're doing a fantastic job, and they're probably going to get all the money. I know we all have opinions, guys, but I don't know how you can consider this a good movie, because it's not, for a Star Wars film. It doesn't give us a story. And especially for me, everything that I pictured, 7, 8, and 9 through all those years is completely different. If I was in charge of this Star Wars film, I would just remake the entire thing completely and do it right. I'm not really that excited for Episode 8 anymore, or so-called Episode 8 anymore. They could just do something that's completely just not even related to Star Wars and just make it feel like they could just remake Empire Strikes Back again. Maybe that's going to be the case, I don't know. So thanks to this movie, and mostly the fans, Star Wars seems to be really dying out for me. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little bitter right now, but this film is fucking stupid. Nothing makes sense, everything is just thrown in just to make people happy. But even they don't make any fucking sense of why they're there in the first place. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. The Force Awakens blows, and rest in peace, Star Wars.